Hey, good afternoon, everyone. The February 26, 2025 meeting of the Parks Public Utilities Technology Committee will come to order. It is 2:03 p.m. I'm Joy Hollingsworth, chair of the committee. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Kettle,
Here.
Councilmember Rivera,
Present.
Councilmember Strauss,
Present.
Council President Nelson, Chair Hollingsworth.
Here.
Chair, there are 4 council members present.
Thank you. Council President Nelson has been excused. Thank you all. On the agenda today, we have a full packed agenda. Really excited. We will hear about the state of our parks public restrooms from our auditor's office, including their recommendations, followed by a presentation from Parks to their response to the audit and their strategies moving forward. In our last committee, Parks came to us briefly with a briefing on the projects and grant funding assistance through the State Recreation and Conservation Office. I look forward to continuing the discussion today. And lastly, we have a Central Waterfront Oversight Committee appointee that will vote to confirm their appointment. I also wanted to point out we'll also be canceling our March 12th committee, and a cancellation notice will be sent out soon. And we will now consider the agenda. And if there's no objections, the agenda will be adopted. Hearing none or seeing no sign, the agenda is adopted. With that, we're going to do my favorite part of the meeting, which is our hybrid public comment period. Clerk.
Currently, we have 4 in-person speakers signed up. There are no remote speakers.
Awesome. All right. We'll give each speaker 2 minutes. And clerk, please read the instructions for the public comment.
The public comment period will be moderated in the following manner. I will call on speakers by name in the order in which they registered, both on council's website or from the sign-up sheet available here in council chambers. We will start with in-person speakers first. If you have not registered to speak but would like to, you can sign up before the end of the public comment period. You can go to council's website, or you can sign up on the sign-up sheet near the public comment microphone. The online link is listed on today's agenda as well. When speaking, please begin by stating your name and the item you are addressing. Speakers will hear a chime when 10 seconds are left of the allotted time. If speakers do not end their comments at the end of the allotted time provided, the speaker's microphone will be muted to allow us to call on the next person.
Awesome. We'll jump into our in-person speakers. Thank you, best clerk in the world.
The first speaker for in-person public comment is Maggie Johnson, followed by Alex Zimmerman.
Hello, Maggie Johnson. Welcome. And start whenever you're ready.
Hello, and thanks for letting us talk. My name's Maggie. I'm one of the about 100 active volunteers who are appalled and heartbroken by Parks' decision to eliminate environmental education programming that is currently serving over 80,000 Seattleites per year. This seems like a senseless fiasco. Council approved our funding through 2025, and you all thought you had a year to discuss finding the $1 million per year needed, as some of you indicated you were interested in doing. But Parks has already offered the entire staff unrelated replacement jobs with a 1-month acceptance deadline. When the staff dwindles, the volunteer corps will no longer function. What becomes of our ongoing program? Has anyone even thought this through? Here's what's being cut. In 2024, over 4,000 school kids from 80 area schools participated in field trips, including 21 Title I schools. At Cleveland and Chief Sealth High Schools, 375 teens attended weekly programs experiencing a range of mental and physical health benefits. They're using this experience on job and college applications. Public owl prowls, beach and beaver programs, partnerships with community programs such as Lifelong Learning and the Carkeek Park Watershed Alliance, Discovery Park Visitor Center staff, and the volunteers who run the accessibility bus to the beach, Nature Kids Preschool, over 900 youth campers. Programming that has been honed over decades, including a high-quality training program for volunteers, all to be cut. Please get this on your agenda. Draft a budget amendment restoring these programs and ask Parks to stop dispersing our staff. Thank you.
Up next, we have Alex Zimmerman, followed by Bill Farmer.
Thank you. Sie Heil, Demi, Dem. Thief, bandita, and killer. My name is Alex Zimmerman, president of Stand Up America, and support Trump for 10 years every day. Yeah. I come to this place for many times, dozen times. You talk about this. You don't need to spend $1 million and million, $100 million for park. You don't have sense. When you use something cleaning park or something like this, look, it's too many volunteers around. 100 who can do this for free, be happy. But keep 1,000 people, what is cost us 100 and 100 is stupidity. Washington, D.C., Trump and Max shows us right now as government totally corrupt. It's not corruption. They thief, they stealing money. So I ask you, when we have 20,000 homeless and 500 dying per year, you know what this means. We have 100,000 social security low income like me, senior citizen. You spend 1,000 people for park. I live here for 40 years. Seattle, nice city. 3 staying for 1,000 years. So, guys, it's supposed to be stopping. You never touch local employee, your city employee, because you're controlled by mafia, by Democrat, fascist mafia, who don't touch people. More people work for government, more people will work for you. You understand what this means? Everybody right now start doing this again. You know what it means publicly. It's important. So stand up, America, for Donald Trump, and stop and spend us money for nothing. You are a killer.
Thank you. And for the record, just for educational purposes, the remark that Mr. Zimmerman always does is anti-Semitic, and it's a Nazi salute. And I will say that every time I am chair of the committee, and he does that in this committee to remind people that is very anti-Semitic. Thank you.
Up next, we have Bill Farmer, followed by Jean Jarstad.
Hello, City Council. We're back to City Hall to remind you once again the environmental education program is at risk of disappearing this year. We've reached out to the mayor's office, to Seattle Parks and Rec Management, and all of you have gotten all my emails and many others. So far, some of you have been polite enough to reply, and we've been told that folks are getting up to speed. So far, there's been no response from the mayor's office. We've reached out to Deputy Mayor Justin Farrell, who's taken on that parks issue role. We've asked Superintendent Diaz and others in the Parks Department to have a meeting, which was recommended to have a different venue than commenting at public meetings. So far, no response. As we understand it, the EE program is fully funded in 2025. All the staff were given opportunity to take another position by the end of January, but they had to decide, or they'd risk not having a job at the end of the year. If they're fully funded in 2025, what's the urgency in having them to take another position now? Something doesn't sound right to me. And I know Councilmember Kettle and Strauss, you've mentioned that you're willing to look at alternative funding and come up with $1 million. $1 million is a lot of money, but in the big picture, it can be found. So, so far, getting no response, it's disrespecting. So it doesn't make us feel good. So AP, we ask for a meeting and have a conversation and get some understanding of what's
Thank you. Up next, we have Jean
Thank you, Mr. Farmer.
Jarstad? My apologies.
I love our parks, so keep up the good work. So, anyway, I'm a volunteer. There's lots of us that have gray hair, and some of us have very little hair. I think there's about 100 people who are going to come, but they're at a Tesla protest, so a joke. But there are a bunch of young people who volunteer too. We have a chemistry professor who's 32. We have a rocket scientist who's 31, and retired teachers and counselors. But there's 100+ volunteers like me, and we are trained by Seattle staff. And it's free labor for the city. It's a pretty good investment. And we all want to, we have one thing in common. We want to share the beauty and wonder and importance of nature and the Seattle parks with kids and adults. This is a program of Seattle kids in Seattle parks. It's a wonderful situation. We conducted 570 school field trips with thousands of Seattle school children. And they were about insects, trees, ponds, salt water, tide flats, critters, and birds. And the kids are bused to the parks from the schools from all over Seattle. This is part of this budget. Believe it or not, a lot of kids, they've never been to a Seattle park. And they've never experienced a nature experience. They have their phones, they have all that stuff, but this is new to them, and their eyes really get wide. I mean, Seattle voters, we just passed a $1.5 billion transportation levy. We passed an operating budget for Seattle schools, and we passed a capital budget, you know, in hundreds of millions. So this is kind of an extension of the educational program for these kids. It gives them something they don't get in the schools. And it has 4 to 7 full-time equivalents. I think it's down to about 4 now. But it gives them a hands-on experience. Also, this budget keeps Discovery Park open. Not the park, the rec center, which is nice to have restrooms and tourists. So please don't let this 30-year-old program die. The brain trust that's in place can't be easily replaced. The small dedicated staff are super qualified and super dedicated. So I know it's hard during the budget year, but this is a good investment. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there more speakers signed up or nope? So the public comment period is now, that was open, is now closed. So thank you all. I want to thank the speakers that came to talk about the environmental program. You will get a response from us, Mr. Farmer. I put that on the record, and I never lie when I commit on camera. So you will get a response from us, and we'll follow up with you and your org. Okay. I also, if there is no, we're moving on to, will the clerk please read agenda item number 1 into the record, please?
Agenda item 1, the Office of City Auditor's report and briefing on Seattle Department of Parks and Recreation restrooms for briefing and discussion. Presenting from the Office of Auditor are David G. Jones, City Auditor, Melissa Alderson, and IB Oceantucky.
Yay, our auditor's office. I know you all are the favorite office in the city of Seattle when y'all come through, right? No? Come on. Mr. Jones, we know. All right. All right. Please introduce yourself, and then please jump right into your presentation whenever you're ready.
I'm the City Auditor, David Jones.
Melissa Alderson, Assistant City Auditor.
Oh, and go ahead and press your mic and press the little green button. Yep. Yep.
IB Yoshitoki, Assistant City Auditor.
Okay, we'll proceed with the chair's permission to go through our presentation. And
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chair Hollingsworth, for inviting us to be here today, make a presentation on our report on parks, restrooms in Seattle. And this report was requested by the Park District Board, which is composed of the members of the Seattle City Council. Members of the viewing audience who might want to read the report, who would be interested in it, you can go to our office's website and see a copy of the report, download a copy of the report, or read it. It's at www.seattle.gov/cityauditor. That's one word, /reports. The folks who did the work on this, some of them are sitting beside me. It's Melissa Alderson and IB Oceantucky and Sarah Bland, who couldn't be here. They were the team. They did the work. I just want to say from the beginning, we made 6 recommendations in the report, and as we do with all recommendations we make in our report, we will follow up on them, and we will report back to you, the City Council, and the public. We do this annually, and we follow up on recommendations until they're either been implemented or it's obvious that they're not going to be implemented. So we will be doing that in the case of the audits, the recommendations made in this audit report. I do want to say the Parks Department was very cooperative during this audit, and I just want to thank them for that, because it took a lot of arrangements and a lot of work on both sides' part. And also, this is important context for you, the council, and for the public to know. It was a really, the period that we were looking at was a particularly challenging one for the Parks Department in terms of its ability to keep restrooms clean, safe, and open. And there were three primary reasons for this. First, the Parks Department was really coping with the aftermath of the pandemic, when there was a really increased use of parks bathrooms by all kinds of users. Second thing, the Parks Department was coping with a hiring freeze due to the city's budget situation, the deficit we were facing, the constraints in the city's budget. And this led Parks to not being able to hire enough employees who could help with cleaning and repairing bathrooms. And then third, finally, and this I personally find very disturbing as a resident of the city of Seattle, there's a marked increase in vandalism of Parks restrooms. Some restrooms in particular were real problem children, so to speak. So this all goes by way of saying it's not an easy thing to keep 129 park restrooms in good operating order. And we want to acknowledge that, because it's easy to come in and be an armchair quarterback and critique things. But again, our job is to look for ways we can improve as a city. But I did want to set the stage for, and Melissa and IB will also talk a little about that. It's not an easy environment in which to be doing their work, the Parks Department. Good thing, the Parks Department generally agreed with the recommendations we made in the audit, and after us, they're going to be talking more to you, the council, making a presentation on what they're going to be doing to respond to the audit recommendations. So now let me turn it over to Melissa Alderson, who led our work, was the auditor in charge of this project, and she'll take you through the report along with IB.
Awesome. And for the record, to reflect, we also have a council member, Saka, joining us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Good afternoon, council members. So as David mentioned, this audit request came to us through a resolution from the Park District Board, which asked us to evaluate the cleaning and maintenance of park restrooms, which we know is something that Seattle residents care a lot about. In surveys, park users consistently mention park restroom cleanliness as a top concern. Our objective for this audit was to determine if park restrooms are open, clean, and safe for public to use. The restrooms we looked at are the ones that are located within City of Seattle parks, and there are 129 of them in the city. And then the time period for our audit was 2023 to 2024, and then the site visits and the ride-alongs that we went on took place in the summer of 2024. So before we get into the findings and recommendations, I want to say a bit more about something that David mentioned about vandalism in restrooms. Vandalism is one of the big challenges that the Parks Department is dealing with. And as David mentioned, some restrooms are getting hit harder and more often than others. So we wanted to give you some photos, some examples of the kinds of vandalism. There is of a burned toilet. The second one is of a significant amount of graffiti. That third middle photo, the divider stall has been cut away and the stall doors are missing. And then the last two photos, the soap dispensers have been ripped from the wall, which unfortunately is a common form of vandalism. So while some of these, like the burned toilet, is a more extreme example, responding to vandalism accounted for 21% of Parks Department facilities' time spent on restroom maintenance, which you can imagine takes away from the other important work that they do. So now IB and I will take you through the 6 findings and recommendations. And this first finding here is about how often restrooms are getting cleaned. And we wanted to see if restrooms were getting cleaned as often as they should be. Parks sent us their restroom cleaning plan, which showed us that their goal was to clean every restroom 2 to 3 times per day, year-round. They also shared this expectation in their 2023 annual report. We initially tried to get data to compare their actual restroom visits to this goal, but because of some data issues, which we will talk about later, we were unable to do that analysis. So instead, we went on ride-alongs and we interviewed every cleaning crew in the city, and we interviewed all of the crew chiefs. Altogether, the audit team visited 90 of the 129 park restrooms, which is 70%. So based on observations and interviews, we found that the Parks Department has not been able to keep up with this restroom cleaning plan. And some of this, as David mentioned earlier, is likely due to staffing levels. 2024 was a difficult budget year, and Parks did not have the level of resources that they were used to. So we recommend that Parks either adjust their resources so that they can meet this 2 to 3 times per day cleaning goal, or change their goal so that it can be met with their current resources.
So our next finding is about the quality of cleaning that restrooms get. As Melissa mentioned, we participated in ride-alongs with all the cleaning crews in each of the maintenance districts. And just a quick shout out to the cleaning crew. They do very important work, and we are very appreciative that they responded to a lot of the questions we asked them when we did our ride-alongs. So what we found was that the cleaning practice was not consistent across the city, and the cleaning practice we also saw were different from what parks have documented in their cleaning procedures. And this was likely due to differing expectations and oversight from management and the staffing issue that Dave and Melissa have made mention of. So we are recommending that Parks Department review cleaning expectations, make sure that they are consistent across the city, and then they should routinely monitor their performance to make sure that they are meeting their cleaning standards.
Okay, this next finding has to do with data. As I mentioned earlier, we found that the data the department had on which restroom staff visited each day was unreliable, meaning that they couldn't say with certainty which restrooms were getting cleaned and how often. And this is important from an evaluation performance management perspective. To their credit, Parks was aware of this issue, very forthcoming about the data limitations, and at the time of our audit, they were working to try to make improvements to their data system and how they entered data to try to improve the accuracy of their data. But the changes that they were working on were going on at the time of our audit and had not been implemented long enough for us to evaluate if they were going to be effective. So our recommendation is that, whatever Parks chooses as their performance metric, they figure out a way to collect accurate data so they can evaluate if they're meeting their restroom cleanliness goals.
Our next finding is about how often restrooms are open and if they are open when they are supposed to be. The Parks Department has a dashboard on their website that shows Parks restrooms status and hours, which, as you can imagine, is a great resource for anyone who is using any of the parks in the city. But what we found was that the dashboard was not as reliable as it could be, and it was not always current with up-to-date information about restrooms that are open or closed. We found inconsistency in one of our findings relating to availability is also the inconsistency in restrooms locking strategy. Parks has a practice of locking some restrooms at night so that they can discourage inappropriate use and also to prevent vandalism. But we did not see a well-executed locking strategy during this audit. There was confusion as to which restrooms were supposed to be locked, and who was supposed to be doing that locking. So some restrooms that were supposed to be locked overnight were not locked consistently. So what we are recommending is that Parks Department should determine what locking strategy they want to put in place, and they should communicate that locking plan to their staff so that they are aware and they know who is responsible for doing what.
This finding is about maintenance and keeping restrooms in good working order. The Parks Department Facilities Division has a goal of wanting to spend 60% of their time on preventive maintenance and 40% for on-demand or reactive work. And this is a good goal to have because it's usually cheaper, easier to fix things before they break, have a preventive approach. Preventive work for restrooms is doing things like replacing gaskets before they fail or inspecting a roof to check for damages before it leaks. So we analyzed the facilities maintenance labor hours spent on restrooms and found that parks did not meet their 60% preventive maintenance goal. And this is not for lack of trying. The vandalism, the staffing limitations mentioned earlier are making it challenging to put time toward preventive maintenance work. We recommend that the Parks Department determine the right amount of staffing and resources that they need to meet their preventive maintenance goal and then share that information with the Park District Board.
Our final recommendation is about the risk and challenges that the Parks Department is facing as it relates to their renovation goal, and their renovation goal are almost always capital projects. So the department has done some commendable work in addressing some of the risks to their restroom renovation projects, like holding funding reserves to address inflation and setting up a review committee to review some of their projects to make sure that it is going along as planned. But we highlighted 3 issues that may hinder their renovation goal and suggested some mitigating ideas in the report. Some of those ideas include conducting regular condition assessment of restrooms to better understand the overall condition of all the restrooms in the city. And we are suggesting that they should be more strategic about planning and budget allocation as they continue to respond to the increasing cost of vandalism. And they should also try to package restroom renovation together as much as possible so that they can save some time and money. So in addition to our findings and the 6 recommendations in the report, there were some things we observed that were related to restrooms operations, but for various reasons, we concluded that they were beyond the scope of this audit. We included those observations in our report so that management is aware of them, but we did not issue any formal recommendation. The observations include the Park Ranger program that assists with promoting restroom safety, and they also assist the cleaning crew as they go along their route. Another matters we identified was the lack of database for portable restrooms, and we also identified the concerns that some management have over employee morale and safety, and also the design of restrooms so that they could promote maintenance and safety. So we discussed these observations in detail in the report, and we'll be happy to answer any question you may have about them. And I think that concludes our presentation.
Yes, we're done talking, so if you have any questions, we'd be happy to try and answer them. And again, we thank you for the request to do this audit.
Well, awesome. Well, first off, I wanted to say thank you all for taking the time to do the audit, and thank you also for setting the table, understanding like just the challenges that we have with some of our public restrooms, with just the conditions, and also like just the environment that we're in, that help navigate the conversation, help us be better prepared. So I just wanted to thank you all for the presentation. Again, one of my favorite city departments. Right now, I would love to see if any of my colleagues have any questions. Go ahead and raise your hand. I'll look down here. I see Councilmember Strauss has a question. And for the record, we've been joined by Council President Nelson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the audit team for completing this work. I think I heard you correctly. This was a request made during the last 6-year budget plan within the Metropolitan Parks District. Is that correct? Or can you remind me, how did this audit originate?
It came through a resolution from the Park District Board. The year of that resolution, I don't have off the top of my head.
Then I would be nearly certain, 99.99999% certain that this is a product of the last 6-year funding scope of the Metropolitan Park District Board for that plan. You noted some very important context, which was that the pandemic was very difficult for the Parks Department in a way that others did not experience, which was there was actually increased use, colleagues, of our parks during the pandemic when many other city functions were on the downtick. And so beyond that, staffing became very difficult, maintenance, everything. And then we also asked the Parks Department to go above and beyond what we had originally set out in 2019 for that 2-year biennium. So the Parks Department was stretched pretty thin across our city. I had direct experience there. In addition, there had been a very long-standing conversation about public hand washing stations. Can we put public hand washing stations in our city? The short answer is we could. The long answer is it requires plumbing because we live in a city. And so we can't just put gray water out into a parking strip, et cetera. That's not what we're here to talk about. The solution here really is the Parks Department, because they have restrooms that are plumbed into our sewer system, that are plumbed with water. It really solves a lot of problems. I say that because in the last 6-year funding plan, we increased the funding for restroom renovations, and I believe restroom operations and maintenance as well. And the audit that you are seeing presented today was one of the accountability methods that we used during that 6-year funding plan to ensure that we understood what the baseline was as we were implementing those 6 years of funding to improve our restrooms specifically. If I get any of this wrong, just let me know, because I'm going off of complete memory here as the resident historian. And so this is the news is unfortunate. I'll just say that. And there's a lot of context that explains how and why we are here. And I paint this pathway forward that we have another few years of restroom funding that is above and beyond what probably could have been implemented before the audit began. And so there are things that need to be addressed, and I appreciate that you've laid out the roadmap for solving some of these issues, and that the Parks Department, I know, has been set up financially, at least for some senses, within that 6-year funding plan. And so without asking more work to be done today, much like the permitting audit that I asked for a couple of years ago, we've now engaged in that second round of auditing, right, to see the next steps from there. I might suggest, but not confirm here, is that in a year or two from now, that we do this exercise again to see what has changed in the time that that 6-year funding plan funding could be implemented. But I just share that for context. We've got a lot of work to do here. And as we were preparing in my office for this conversation, I joked with my team because there were 2 restrooms in particular in my district that I requested to be called out by name in the 6-year funding plan, Gilman Park and Salmon Bay Park, in particular, because those restrooms are in the same condition as when I played Little League. which all to say, we have work to do, and we've got the funding in the budget to do it, and now we just need to go and do it. So thank you, colleagues. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to share that context.
Thank you. Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Councilmember Strauss. You played Little League last year, so you're not too old. No, I'm just playing. So it hasn't been that old, right? Just 1 year?
Just 1 year, Chair.
Okay.
No, but I only played Little League for 1 year. So if you can find those photos in Ballard Little League, that's another. Sorry, we're digressing.
No worries. I'll be searching. Thank you, Councilmember Strauss. Councilmember Kettle.
Thank you, Chair Hollingsworth. I won't bring up Little League or anything like that. Well, I'll start off with two things I'll bring up. One is a week and a half ago on a Friday, the KOW's Week in Review. I joined Bill Radke and the panel for a host of topics to discuss. And as things bounced from the community, guess what was one of them? Public restrooms. And so it's a topic on top of mind of everyone. So it's not really just a parks issue. I mean, in a lot of ways it is like Waterfront Park and so forth, but it's a top of mind issue. And of course, like everything else, I said, yes, very important issue. And then I said, World Cup, FIFA World Cup 26, we need to be ready. And so two things in terms of motivation and also potentially means to assist in this. So I just want to start by noting that this topic is not just for folks who like to come to Seattle, chambers or the like. This is something of interest based on how that came up during Week in Review. The second thing I wanted to bring up was in my previous life as a civic volunteer, when the Queen Anne Community Council, one of the issues that we were having was a lot of issues in parks. And I forget the gentleman's name, but there was one person in charge of our parks, and he was fantastic. He came to committee meetings talking about the conditions of the park, to include the bathrooms, the restrooms as well. And one of the things, it's kind of like buses and bus stops. We have a lot of security safety issues with buses and the bus stops. But part of it is the environment around that bus stop, around that bus line that plays into the conditions of what's happening on the buses. And it's the same thing with these restrooms in the parks, what's happening in the parks. And one of the things that we did was really work on each of these parks, and again, I wish I remembered his name, with the Parks Department for CPTED, which is the crime prevention through environmental design, because you start off with vandalism. And we were having a lot of other issues in our parks, and we really hit this hard, cleaning them up, sight lines, all these kinds of things that you can do. And it was very beneficial. I know you don't mention CPTED in here, but given that you start off with vandalism and the fact that what happens in the restroom is really part of what's happened in the more general park and neighborhood in terms of its public safety posture. Chair is probably noticing that I'm turning this into a public safety committee meeting again. But I think that's important in terms of approach and the little things that can have positive second and third order effects as it relates to these kinds of things which happen to our restrooms. And so I just wanted to know that. In my previous life too, working a lot of issues, Little How, Big How, David Rogers Park, and the like, things from graffiti to across the board, was the use of Find It, Fix It. And you noted in your report about data, and I was just curious if you've, in terms of modifying Find It, Fix It, because as you were presenting that, I'm like, oh, interesting. That was hopefully I did have Find It, Fix It on my phone. And there's nothing for, restrooms, but there is Parks and Rec maintenance, and there's also one for graffiti. There's one for nuisance dogs, which I think could be a parks issue as well. And so there's ability through Parks and Rec's maintenance to go to the next step location and do that. But in terms of data sets and making it easy for people to report, did you look at the option of a Find It, Fix It fix to the data challenge that we may have?
No, we did not.
I think it could be a great opportunity. Maybe there's a tweak like with parks maintenance that could, offer a thing, hey, restrooms, just to make it clear. Because that, the data set's driving, because we see this with the Unified Care Team. Find It, Fix It has been fantastic in terms of, so that's that old phrase, data-driven decision-making, which I'm tired of in a way. But at the same time, there's a lot of data, like in encampments and the like, that UCT is using in terms of prioritizing where they're going and engaging with those that are in need. And so I view it as a potential, piece to solve the data and, getting that prioritization and so forth. So I just wanted to raise that. And that's it. I just wanted to highlight CTED, if you'd used it or not, and then and how we can do data better, like Find It, Fix It.
Two things. I used Find It, Fix It the other last week to report a park's bathroom where that was in need of repair. So that's a really valuable tool that people can use, and the more the city can do to make people aware that it's pretty user friendly. But I take your point on the SEPTED thing. We do mention in our report. It's on the last section. It's on page 20, and it's in regards to we were focused on looking at the state of parks restrooms as they are right now. But one of the things we came up with, the team found out about just the importance that as you mentioned, Councilmember Kettle, of design on helping safety and just good behavior around it. And the team, just in the work they did and the people they talked to, brought that up as something to think about. And we know Parks is really well aware of it, but we wanted to mention in the report that things like lighting can make a great deal of difference. You're absolutely right, to make things promote safety.
What's good
better
for Third
behavior.
Avenue is also good for our parks.
Yep.
Exactly. So, well, thank you. And Chair, the last thing is I just want to state my strong support for the city auditor. It's really important that the work you do and developing these reports. So thank you and your team for doing that. I appreciate it.
We appreciate that, and I just want to say how hard the team worked. They got me out on a Sunday morning at 6 a.m. to watch bathroom cleanings in the Green Lake area, and I just did part of it, but part of that is getting out in the field and actually observing the work that's been done. So my hat's off to the folks in our office who actually do the work.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilmember Kettle. Councilmember Rivera.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, City Auditor, for being here and for the great work that you do, reviewing these issues that the city is experiencing and trying to come up with recommendations and solutions. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to answer my question, but when you talk about the fact that there's more vandalism happening, is there a sense of, why or what might be causing it? And I understand it's probably something hard to measure, but I'm trying to understand, because it seems what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that post-pandemic you're seeing, or during the pandemic and post-pandemic, you're seeing more of it, or Parks is seeing more of it. And I'm just wondering if there is a guess as to what might be causing it, so that we can figure out solutions on the preventative solutions, if you will.
Yeah, just a quick remark, and Parks might be in the best position to speak about that. I don't believe we know why. I mean, some of it may have to do with. If you talk to Parks folks, people on, substance abuse and people, causing them to do things that they shouldn't do. But there could be other reasons. Parks is doing some things, in the SEPTED arena. One of the things they've done, one of the bathrooms that really gets hit badly, I think this is in your district, Chair Hollingsworth, is Cal Anderson. And Parks kind of uses that as a laboratory. Like, how can we design locks or doors that are really, really, really hard to vandalize? So, and you're part of the, Councilmember Rivera, you're part of the question. I know Parks is actively working, trying to come up with things to make it harder to damage the bathrooms. I think they'd probably be in a better position than us to talk about any whys that they may know. But I do want to turn to the team and see if Either Melissa or IB, do you want to offer anything in response to Councilman Rivera's question?
Yeah, no, you're right, David. We didn't look into the why, but some of the frequent examples that we saw were ripped soap dispensers, intentionally clogging toilets, graffiti, of course, breaking locks of the doors. So just things that seemed definitely intentional.
Thank you.
Yep, and just a little statistic that kind of gets at this, and you guys correct me if I got this wrong, but I wrote it down so I wouldn't. It's like there are 20 bathrooms in parks that are responsible for about 60% of facility maintenance, their workload. So it's some bathrooms, a small percentage, really get hit repeatedly. Did I say that right, guys? You probably have a more nuanced way of saying it, but a few bathrooms really get abused compared to others.
And is that list in the report of those 20? Sorry, I haven't had a chance to look. I looked at your slide deck, but not the full report
Yeah,
yet.
no, the list is not in there, but we're happy to provide that to you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Awesome. And I don't know if there's any other questions from my colleagues. I'm looking left and right because we're going to hear the response from Parks and what they're doing. So we're really excited to hear that. So Mr. Jones, Miss Alderson, and Mr. Hopefully I get this right, Osuntoki?
Almost.
Almost. Dang it. I apologize. Almost. Thank you all for your work. For being able to prepare and set the table for us for our next conversation. Really appreciate it. I know a lot of time went into this. We love data, and we just really, really appreciate the report and the audit that you all did. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. With that, will the clerk please read agenda item number 2 into the record?
Agenda item 2, Seattle Parks Restroom Audit Response Briefing for briefing and discussion. Presenting today will be Superintendent A.P. Diaz, Justin Hillier, Jacob Daly, Markeith Blackshire, and Kim Baldwin from the Seattle Parks and Recreation.
Awesome. We're so excited to have you all and to have our favorite council liaison, Jacob Thorpe, in the audience. Chose the turtleneck today. I like that.
Yeah, Jacob does look sharp in his turtleneck, doesn't he? Well, council members, thank you for the opportunity to have the Parks Department come before you to discuss this important audit. My name's A.P. Diaz. I'm the superintendent of Seattle Parks and Recreation and joined by some stellar staff here. If you just want to introduce your name and your title within the organization before we start.
Justin Hillier, Policy Advisor.
Kim Baldwin, Director of Planning and Capital Development.
Markeith Blackshire, Division Director for Parks and Environment.
Jacob Daly, I'm filling in as the Facilities Director.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And before we get started, too, I also want to thank the City Auditor for doing their work and, more importantly, for actually showing up in the field a lot with our staff to visit so many bathrooms. It's always good, I think, for people to get firsthand knowledge because I think as both auditors and residents, they could see firsthand some of the things that we deal with in public spaces. And I always say the provision of public parks, public spaces is not easy in a city, and to get that real world data is really important. And I also want to thank them for, the purpose of their audit is to focus in on areas of improvement. That's what an audit does. But they mentioned to us several times too the things that we're doing well and the clean bathrooms that they saw. So we might not always see those pictures today, but we know that there are several great shining examples of a park system working really well. So let's talk about the report and some of the things, some of the findings, the things that we can do in partnership to be better serving for the public. I just want to point out restrooms are regularly cited in public feedback as an area for improvement, both in terms of cleanliness and a never-ending call for more restrooms and more access to them. This is true here in Seattle. We see this every year in response calls from the public. It was also true of my time in Los Angeles. Many of you know that I came from the LA City Parks and Recreation Department. And this was among top concerns every year. In fact, our own LA City Controller did a similar audit a few years ago, found that restrooms were the #1 feature driving down the overall assessment of parks. So how people view their parks, how they grade and score them is usually going to be tied back to the user experience in the public park restroom setting. This is also true amongst the nation, so I just want you all to know in Seattle that I serve on as a board member for the National Parks and Recreation Association, and frequently in conversation with other park directors around the nation, we talk about the challenges that we have with staff and our public restroom use. So because of this feedback, we have included making restroom improvements as a strategic part of our most recent strategic plan, which you can see up on the board. And we've invested significant resources into improving the user experience of restrooms as part of that 6-year Cycle 2 Park District financial plan that Councilmember Strauss was talking about. We'll speak more to this throughout the presentation, but in particular, we increased funding to capital renovation, weatherization to make more restrooms available year-round rather than having to close them, and also investments in increased maintenance. We welcome the opportunity to get the auditor's perspective on how to do this important work, and we appreciate their commitment to meeting those staff that I mentioned firsthand so that they could provide their recommendations. Just to say right out the gate, in general, we concur with the audit findings and are jumping into implementing our response. I take the approach that we can always learn from audit findings as they help us identify what we're doing well and where we might be able to improve as a city. In this presentation, we'll take the opportunity to provide some broader context about operating park restrooms and some of the challenges we face. We'll also show you the actions we're taking to improve park restrooms for our Seattle public, some of which are already underway and some of which we are undertaking in direct response to the audit recommendations. Today, we'll note action we're taking that's related to audit recommendations with the little magnifying glass icon that you will see up above. If you'd like to see a point-by-point response to audit recommendations, you can find that in Appendix A and B of the audit report, or your staff can find those for you in appendices, and we can always have an open dialogue and come back to brief you either one-on-one or in public. But to summarize here, we believe our response plan will improve the user experience of restrooms, is feasible within current resources, and operationalizes many of the recommendations within a 2-year time frame. The auditor had recommendations related to restroom renovation through capital projects, preventative maintenance, daily cleaning, and data tracking, so we'll order our presentation along those lines. In addition to our efforts, we'll also need the public's help in treating public spaces with respect. We also appreciate the public's efforts to let us know when they see maintenance issues, like on the Find It, Fix It apps, and sometimes they are the first to know. We encourage continued use of that Find It, Fix It app, and to calling our maintenance request line directly. And I thank the city auditor. He saw a park restroom, I think, as he mentioned this past weekend, and got into his app to let us know. So that's fantastic. We'll start by providing some context about our work providing park restrooms and some of the challenges we experience. We have 129 restrooms in our public parks, either as standalone buildings like this one that you see in Discovery Park, or perhaps attached to a shelter house or a community center. Many close seasonally, generally because of the potential for frozen pipes. You know, living in Seattle, that is a reality in our homes and something we have to be valuable to. Actually, it was Councilmember Strauss who taught me when I moved up here right before the first winter, and I think we were talking about this and other things, and he said, AP, did you take care of your faucets and disconnect your faucets and put those little things over the faucet holes? And I said, what are those little things? And he said, because of frozen pipes. I said, I've never dealt with that before. So Councilmember Strauss taught me to quickly get into my house. And of course, our staff also laughed at that when I told them my own personal story from my home, because they do that every single day with our bathrooms and prepare for winter. But generally, because of the potential for frozen pipes, we've had to close down our restrooms. However, we're in the process of weatherizing these facilities to allow them to remain open for year-round use and have better infrastructure and support that doesn't require us taking them offline. Note, many of our restrooms are older facilities, like the two that you mentioned, Councilmember Strauss, and major improvements are in the look and on our reports for major renovations coming up. We're in the process of doing that, and we'll talk more about renovations in just a moment. Also, the design of our facilities has varied over time as well, based on what the public is asking for, and other innovations like the port and loo or self-cleaning restrooms are something that are important and something that we want to keep an eye on. And it's one thing that I asked our department to look at when I came up from Los Angeles, because as a result of those audit findings, we started to look and implement more self-cleaning type restrooms. They can oftentimes be efficient, more cost-effective. It's very expensive to build a restroom in a park. I mean, extremely expensive. And those of you on Budget Committee or you've ever asked this question of us before, you'll sometimes be shocked when you think just a simple restroom can easily sometimes be $750,000 because of the plumbing, ADA, and all of the other things that require it. So we want to continue to look at sort of maybe sometimes inappropriate spaces, prefabbed, self-cleaning restrooms that we can come put in. They can clean, they can lock on their own, and they provide data on how many people use them, what times they were used, how many times throughout the day, to better inform how we plan for the future. So we face a variety of challenges in maintaining this system related to larger citywide issues, and we want to make sure you review the audit findings with this in mind. Our system of restrooms was designed with park users in mind. Think of kids at a soccer game or a family picnic or friends at a concert in the park. Because of the documented shortage of restrooms across the city, our facilities see use well beyond just park users. We work hard to provide access to all, but it's just a reality that the lack of restrooms citywide means our restrooms see higher use than they were designed for. Park restrooms drug abuse crisis that we see in our city, with restrooms closures due to the unprecedented levels of vandalism and arson. Councilmember Rivera, you asked, do we have any understanding or maybe reasons why this is happening? I can only point to, I think, we've seen throughout the nation, also in our city, that while we've had a lot of improvements post-pandemic and we're getting back on track in a lot of areas, I think we've seen a lot of post-pandemic social norms increase. So, this mass shoplifting that you see, or even poor driving, or people not respecting common space. We're seeing that. So it's something that we're trying to get an issue on, but I can tell you that, it's not rare that I hear, unfortunately, about a park restroom that's been burnt down, tagged like that you see in the pictures, or vandalized. And so again, that's why we want to highlight that. It's a lens we need to look through, but it's something that we also want to try to prevent if possible. So every time a park restroom is damaged by vandalism or arson, it diverts resources from the proactive work, the preventative maintenance, and the daily cleaning that keep the restrooms usable. It also sometimes means long-term closures while we repair or we rebuild. So when you see a picture like this, sometimes this is the unexpected. The crews will show up and all of a sudden be confronted with something like this. And as you can imagine, they have to deal with something like this, which then will alter the plans for the day, or perhaps a regular route that they would have gone to. We're making a variety of efforts to mitigate vandalism by using different materials and changing our hardware. More on that in a moment. But I don't think you can underestimate the impact of these bigger issues in our management of restrooms. These are real challenges. And now I'll hand it off to our audit liaison, Justin Hellier, who worked closely with the auditor on this. We also have our amazing team here of directors as the real subject matter experts on this to answer any questions that may come up about our capital designs, our renovations, our hardware, or some other questions that you might have top of mind. And of course, I'm here too to pop in as necessary. So thank you.
And Justin, before you start real quick, I just want to invite my colleagues, if you all have questions, please just throw your hand up and I'll recognize you just so we can, because I know it's a lot of information. Councilmember Strauss.
I'll just jump in here. If we could go back to slide 5, we've got a question there. I'll just also acknowledge that before Mayor Harrell came in with his innovation and performance team, Find It, Fix It was sending the requests to departments in a very strange way. And so some Find It, Fix It requests got really quick attention. I found in my personal life, stop signs and plumbing issues at the Parks Department got the fastest response, even before Find It, Fix It was improved. We've improved it now. Mayor Harrell put a lot of attention there. It's in a better place. I just wanted to highlight that even when that program wasn't working well, there were a number of times in 2020, 2021, I submitted Find It, Fix It's regarding plumbing issues in restrooms, and they were quickly fixed. Sorry, one other slide. Can you confirm that this is in fact one of the public restrooms in Discovery Park? And if so, is it the South Bluff restroom?
It's Discovery down close to the beach.
Close
Or sorry, up on top in the south end.
Up on top in the south end, which, colleagues, I will remain consistent. This is the closest public restroom to the site that Temple of the Dog filmed Hunger Strike. That's all, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we're good. We can.
Sure.
Please.
Awesome.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess Councilmember Kettle has a quick question.
Yeah, I do have, well, a quick comment or a quick thank you, but, to follow that up, I don't mind taking time here to ask or make a statement.
We know.
But the statement is, I'm sorry, that goes to the lyrics of the song that he's referring to. No, I just wanted to say thank you, Superintendent Diaz, because your response to Councilmember Rivera's question was perfect. And it's like the perfect example of permissive environment. And it's something that we need to address across the board. And I just wanted to say thank you because the way you said it, I may have to clip it and use it in future for our community. Because it really does go to the challenges that we're facing in our city. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kettle. Go ahead, Jacob. You can continue. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Rivera. And then Jacob, you can continue. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just thank you for addressing my question, Superintendent. I will say I hear from constituents about the restrooms and, being open overnight or the issues with the self-locking bathrooms. And I know I've spoken with your team about the fact that there's some folks that have spent the night in a bathroom, kind of get locked or it sounds like perhaps maybe even purposeful, but getting locked in the bathroom overnight. So the self-locks I know are not, all these solutions have some challenges. I ask about, the reason I was asking to see the list of 20 is just to see where we're seeing most of the issues and also to figure out in terms of solutions, how can we think about if it's of the 129 bathrooms, if there are 20 where we're seeing the most issues, how can we tackle those? And what is needed there to make a difference? And what do communities need to ensure that we are addressing the ability to keep bathrooms open for folks and not have them be vandalized, et cetera. So I appreciate it. And I think I'm looking forward onto your slides. You have some solutions that you're going to talk about. But thank you for addressing that and all that to say that I think we're all hearing from constituents. I can't be the only one about the issues with the bathrooms.
Great. So we'll start with kind of the restroom renovation piece, just given the age of our facilities. Like the number one thing we could do to make restrooms a little nicer for the public is just rebuild them when we got the chance. So we've got 129 restrooms, as AP mentioned, but we've got a whole lot of other assets like playgrounds, athletic fields, picnic shelters, and we management approach to most of these asset management categories, and that's represented in our kind of conceptual image on the left there. which is we are really aiming to maximize the amount of time that the asset is in service for the public. We do regular asset management planning, so think condition assessments, various kinds of analysis to figure out, when do we need to pull assets out of service and put them into a capital project to renovate or replace them or do major repairs. We commission the asset and then put it back into public service, into public use. So this is kind of our approach to restrooms and to everything else. To give you some cycle 2 context, as was mentioned, as a part of that 2023 to 2028 financial plan, we've committed to major capital renovation of 27 restrooms. That is not just Park District funding, but it represents our REIT funding, King County levy money, all those various slices of the pie. And this generally means, renovation means we're kind of closing the facility, either completely rebuilding it or thoroughly renovating it to bring it up to code around accessibility, building standards, and best practices. So we're excited to say that as of earlier this month, with the completion of Bradner Gardens, that we've completed 5 restrooms since the start of 2023, and 3 more are currently in construction. And then did want to note this, the photo here is Gasworks Park, right? And it represents 2 innovations here. One, kind of the public request for single stall restrooms, and then second, auto locking. So just to tell you a little bit more about restroom renovations, our approaches in cycle 2 is to bundle together projects for time and financial efficiencies. And as the auditor mentioned, they kind of reviewed and validated this as a strategy, and we're making some progress on it. So in 2024, we initiated planning on a package of 5 sites that are going to be put out to bid together. And this year, we'll initiate planning on another 3 sites. Essentially, what this means is we're asking one contractor to be prepared to work on the whole bundle of sites. And doing that allows us to save some money, economies of scale, but also to coordinate the work geographically so that no single part of the city has too many restrooms down at one time. Happy to say that Gilman and Salmon Bay were put into planning and design last year, so that's exciting. We're also bundling.
I thought we took those out. Did we keep them in? Okay, no, I'm kidding.
You could say it again.
We are also bundling restrooms with other site improvements. So where, for example, there may be a site that we're going to do a bunch of other site work, like a Garfield Superblock, and officially the bathroom is a couple down the line on when it might need to be replaced, we'll just do it at the same time so that, for that cost efficiency and also to be less disruptive to the public over time. So that's all stuff we were working on and sort of planning for already, and the auditor validated that as an effective approach. On the right side are some things we're doing directly in response to the audit, one of which was the auditor recommended more frequent condition assessments. And that, I think, makes a lot of sense, and we're going to align condition assessments with our 6-year Park District planning processes. So you should expect when we come back in a few years with a Park District planning process that we've got really robust condition assessments of restrooms and other assets to help inform those investments. And then we're also formally updating design standards to incorporate lessons around vandalism prevention, durability, and maintenance. We have been doing that work in a kind of informal way, but agree with the auditor that it makes sense to really do it in a more formal way. Great. So preventive maintenance, going to next, which is really about the work of our skilled crafts folks. Think plumbers, electricians, carpenters. So just a kind of 101, which you did hear a little bit from the auditor, so I'll go quick, is really just fixing things before they're broken, right? Doing the routine preventative stuff in anticipation so they don't break. What this means in restrooms is kind of replacing any components you may need, looking for leaks, making sure the pipes won't freeze, working on the lighting and other assets. This is a really important part of the blue chunk of our circle, right, of keeping restrooms in service for the public. The auditor noted that high rates of vandalism and other forms of demand maintenance are making it difficult to reach that preventive maintenance goal. We agree, right? We've traditionally had, he heard Salmon Bay and Gilman, and he's good. We traditionally had a goal of 60% to 40%. That was kind of an aspirational goal of, in general, we should be doing more of our work on preventive. And generally, we met that in prior years. Since the pandemic, and especially in the last couple years, we've been upside down on that. The auditor noted that difference and said, hey, additional plumbing and other skilled craft staff may be warranted, and we agree. As a part of cycle 2, we made an investment of additional skilled craft positions, but these have actually been pretty challenging to hire. I think the main issue is a wage competitiveness issue. In 2024, happy to say that in addition to the annual wage increase that all city employees got, these plumbing, electrician, carpenters, these trades positions in particular got what we call a market rate adjustment, right? So our city's Department of Human Resources looked out across the field and realized that to be competitive, we needed to increase wages. So we're hopeful that that's going to change the dynamic here, and we're really, as the auditor recommended, we're really prioritizing filling these vacancies.
And I see Councilmember Saka, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Superintendent Diaz. And while the city auditor's team is still in the chamber, I want to thank them and express my appreciation and gratitude for their work. It's important work of shedding the bright light of transparency onto the important underpinnings of city government and how we operate in these critical services. So in any event, thank you all, Parks team, for being here. Let me just quickly say, I have a reputation apparently of being verbose, which is fine. But after hearing a few of my colleagues speak today, and I'm looking over to my right in particular, I'm reminded that there's always a one-upper in every group. In any event, thank you, distinguished gentleman from Queen Anne. So can we go back to the restroom renovation slides here? Okay, yeah, there we go. So, by the way, I would also be curious to see that sort of top 20 hotspot list of problem restrooms. So I note that, or you note that there's 5 restrooms renovated toward the goal of 27 with 3 in construction. How many of those 27 on the list, and there's a number probably in the queue, how many of those 27 on the list are contained or included in the top 20 hotspots, problem restrooms that we know? I wouldn't necessarily expect you to have a precise answer right now. If you have an initial response, that's welcome. But would...
I think we would likely need to do some cross-checking on that, but we can do that.
And now we know that there are known problem top 20 hotspots, if you will. How has that informed the unplanned for, budgeted, funded, but otherwise unplanned for and unconstructed yet projects that remain to be renovated on that list of 27?
Yes, I can respond to that.
Yeah.
So the projects, when vandalism occurs, arson occurs, and a restroom that we didn't plan on addressing in a certain year, when that becomes a high need and a high priority, we look to our list of prioritized work. So looking up at this chart with the assessment planning, with that, we're able to prioritize all of our restrooms based on need. And so if there is a need that rises to the top, then we just have to shift down based upon the amount of funding that we have available in each year. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, kind of. I guess my ultimate point that I was getting at is that, now we know it's documented, these problem hotspots. That list of 27 presumably was culled and authorized by previous council action or Parks Metropolitan District Board action, whatever it was, and funded. But now we know there's 20 hotspots. It seems like it's a good opportunity to revisit that list, particularly for those projects that have not yet been developed or started.
Yes, I believe it is.
As one criteria amongst other that you all are considering, of course.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree that it is a great opportunity, and I'm curious to also see that list of 20 and see how many we are already going to be addressing in our upcoming list. But in addition, on the next slide, we were sharing that we are going to be aligning our restroom assessments with the 6-year Park District cycle, and our goal for this year is to, in Q3 of 2025, to complete assessments on all of our restrooms, and this is part of the recommendation coming from the auditors, on all of our restrooms that we haven't renovated in the last 10 years, and ones that do have a high need that we are aware of, and find it, fix it, and calling in work orders gives us a good idea, a good indication of restrooms that are in need because they've been heavily vandalized, or they just keep getting calls because, you know, there's just a lot is happening there.
Yeah.
So, no, I agree with you. And so I also have a curiosity to see exactly which 20 are on that list and to cross-reference those with the work that we are doing in planning. And I imagine there's a, you know, a lot of them are on there, but maybe some aren't, and that will inform us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. And that's just my own 2 cents. And as one way we can leverage some of the learnings and insights in the findings, in the audit findings. But how are, just more broadly, how are the audit findings themselves informing the planning and ultimately delivery and construction of the remaining projects on that list of 27 for restroom renovations? So whether it's, you know, new materials, new better incorporating SEPTED design principles, any number of things, cross-referencing, making sure that this is the best list, or maybe we need to update the list of remaining projects that need to be delivered, amongst other things. Those are a non-exhaustive list of potential ways it could inform, but how are you thinking about that just right now? I'll ask, starting with the superintendent, like, how are you initially thinking about that now?
Well, I think one of the things that we're doing is, so for instance, like with that list that we talked about, how we have, you know, completed 5, and then there's 3 more in construction. You know, that list is always moving because, for instance, like we had a complete burn down of a park restroom at Soundview Playfield, right? So that might have been on our list for park renovation. And we had one over in District 4. So then our list has to adjust because we obviously have to completely repair that. It just happens that we would have done that quicker, but we are actually doing a field renovation at Soundview that's starting in a couple of weeks. So we're going to combine those 2. So that's an area that's not always reported in a hotspot because that's like an unknown hotspot, but it becomes a hotspot because we have a complete arson and a burn. So we kind of want to look at that. I think on the cross-referencing, yes, we want to look at the areas. You know, the hotspots will indicate which bathrooms are being treated the worst. But we may not always know why. But if we look at that to see, was it because of something of perhaps a lack of lighting? The site location, is it really back far behind trees and things like that? That informs and gives us opportunities. And some of the things we're going to be looking at with the auditor findings is, are there some aesthetic things that we can do to improve it? So, or prevent maybe something. You know, we can't always prevent things, but if there's easy site situations, we could be doing that in conjunction with continuing on track of our park renovations. So some of that is going to be a combined effort of going out and looking at where were the areas that were identified that need the most need, and what are some of the things that we can do. Because not all of them are a complete park renovation. That doesn't, I mean, a bathroom renovation. That sometimes you could deliver a brand new bathroom, but if you haven't addressed the other things, you're just setting up yourself for now a new park restroom having that vandalism, right? So it doesn't always correlate, but sometimes it does. But sometimes it's looking at, you know, could there be better lighting? And one of the things we're piloting that we're going to be looking at, for instance, at maybe Cal Anderson, is a attendant system. That wasn't necessarily a finding of the audit, but it's something that we're thinking about as perhaps the solution in some of these hotspots as we redevelop Westlake, as we look at Occidental, as we look at places like Cal Anderson that are high use. Should we perhaps pilot and look at what a park restroom attendant might look like, where there's actually people there? Right now, there's nobody in, near or at bathrooms. This works in other places. Some places around the country, they're doing this in New York. They do this in parts of Europe or in Latin America. Sometimes an actual person there might reduce. That, of course, would require new job classifications, funding, et cetera, but we believe that that might be a solution and a need for these most hotspot areas. So that's just one approach. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything. I think we're good. Also on, I want to just, and then we'll continue in our presentation, locking mechanisms on bathrooms, and I learned this too in my past experience. At first, I thought, oh, that's the best idea. Why don't we do that on all of our bathrooms and then we solve the problem? It really is a nuanced, it works in some areas. You saw them at the gas works. We're going to try it there. We have to be careful, though. In some of these areas, it leads to increased vandalism and where people want to break off the lock or try to break it. Sometimes people can get inside and then be there all night or not get out. I think that was pointed. So we have to be careful where we put self-locking bathroom locks. It's good in some places, but it's not always the right solution in all places either. Okay.
All good. Thank you.
Great. One of the things that we are doing, in addition to prioritizing hiring additional plumbers and skilled crafts folks, we're also kind of moving from that aspirational, a little bit conceptual, 60-40 goal to we're actually, and this was some items we're doing in direct response to the audit, setting up pretty clear operations and maintenance standards for what are the things we should be doing as preventive maintenance in a restroom? Like, what does that menu look like for the year? And then our performance goal is, did we do it? Right, so that's some of the action we'll be taking. One of the things we said we would do for the public as a part of Cycle 2 was to increase access to restrooms year-round. So as we mentioned, about half our restrooms close over the winter, mainly due to freezing pipes issues. And so our facilities division is working to weatherize around 60 restrooms by the end of Cycle 2. They, in combination with some of our capital projects, have done 18 sites in the first couple years, and you can see them on the map there. And they're on track for completion by 2028. They've learned some lessons along the way. Some of these are really easy to do, and some of them, just based on facility design, are a lot more difficult to do. So getting at some of your questions you've had on kind of what are we doing about those really problematic sites and what are we doing to mitigate vandalism in general, I just want to give a shout out to our skilled crafts folks who are super creative they are literally designing and inventing new ways to prevent and mitigate vandalism based on our experience. So on the far left, you see Lake Ridge Playground and kind of ways that we're using really durable structures and fixtures in the middle. And then the other thing you see in that far left is that's an open door, right? That bathroom does not shut down. There's no door to close it up. And so imagine kind of trying to keep those pipes warm and unfrozen in the winter takes some creative thinking. And that's just a reality of kind of the wide variety of bathroom facilities we've got out there. Take some creativity. In the middle, you see our metal fabricators designing and creating new hardware to mitigate vandalism. The lock in particular, I think the locks are, and I think our folks would say this, are one of the more popular things to vandalize. And, so they've had to be creative about coming up with ways to reduce that. One of the things I think, the little structure they've created there is effective at mitigating vandalism. It also makes it harder for the grounds maintenance person to lock and unlock the door, right? So I think that's just another example of how we're doing our best to mitigate vandalism, but that has further effects down the line on everyday maintenance. On the far right, you see kind of a new gate and lock cover installed at Cal Anderson Park. So that was a restroom, is almost certainly number 1 on that list of 20 that was regularly vandalized and repeatedly closed down for long periods of time. And so this was just sort of one of the more creative things our folks have been up to trying to keep that bathroom open. And now moving on to daily cleaning, kind of just the regular daily maintenance of restrooms to keep them going for users. Again, this is an essential part of that, keeping us in that blue asset and service category. Our general approach to cleaning restrooms comes in two forms. One, first thing in the morning, restroom staff run a restroom route where they make sure restrooms and priority parks are ready for the day. So the shift starts at 6 a.m., as the auditor mentioned. The audit staff, I think 7 different times went on restroom routes at 6 a.m. to observe. We also have kind of general park maintenance routes. So, you know, there's that first restroom out in the morning, and then park maintenance routes in general are out picking up garbage, weeding, keeping the whole park looking good, and they'll perform restroom maintenance as needed, making sure it's stocked and clean. One thing we want to say about our park laborers, we do ask them to clean efficiently, but we're also asking them to keep an eye on the broader park, to call in work orders, use their discretion to identify priorities, and helping the public as needed. So when these folks enter a restroom, they might find a hazard, they might find folks in distress. There's no encounter is exactly the same. And so we hire our park grounds maintenance laborers not because they are like perfectly technically efficient at cleaning, although they're very good at that, but because we actually want them to use their discretion to be able to perform these broader functions for our park benefits. So based on public feedback, as we've said, keeping restrooms clean is a top priority. As a part of Cycle 2, we committed to hiring 12 new laborer positions to focus on increasing service levels. And we launched these teams in 2023. As the auditor noted, however, system-wide issues impacted our staffing levels in 2024. Primarily, this was due to a hiring freeze and some vacancy holds due to budget deliberations, and because SPR needed to absorb some unbudgeted costs in 2024. Now that the 25 budget has passed, we have jumped into hiring laborers, and our intention is to hire as many of our vacant laborer positions as possible this round. And we aim to hire temporary seasonal employees as in a typical year. So we're hopeful that this will bring total maintenance levels back up to more typical levels. We also have some new technology coming online, hot pressure washing that gives just a significantly cleaner feel to the bathroom. It lets you get the whole thing clean with more effectively, faster, and with less chemical required. Some other things we're doing in direct response to the audit, we are, to make daily cleaning expectations super clear and transparent, we're developing a by-restroom cleaning plan that lays out kind of what kind of cleaning happens, how often, by which staff, on which routes, and that scales based on resource availability. We're also formally revamping our cleaning standards and providing training annually, and we're going to update our criteria for prioritizing restroom locking. The last thing we get to tell you about is telling you how do we make sure all this is working, right? And that the thing we really care about, which is the public experience of restrooms, are we getting there? So the auditor, as they noted here today and noted in the report, they encouraged us to set a goal around restroom cleanliness and track data accordingly. And so rather than trying to track kind of input and activity measures like how many hours of cleaning did we do or how many touches did it get in a day, we're focused on the outcome of public satisfaction. So how are we going to measure that? Let's start by telling you how we think about satisfaction in general, right? Primarily, we think if people are happy with our parks, we're doing a good job. We measure that through a biennial statistically valid survey, through Find It, Fix It. We monitor social media. We've got a maintenance request line. We also have a park inspection program that uses trained volunteers to inspect our parks against maintenance standards. We report this data publicly and use it to make maintenance choices. Just to give you an example of what that looks, and one thing I'll say is council members are always welcome to come on park inspections. So talk to Jacob if you're interested in joining some of our trained volunteers on reviewing a park inspection. It's a pretty rigorous process in which volunteers who've been trained will go to a park and rate it against our maintenance standards. So you can see the maintenance standards on the left there. and then you see the app that they rated on the right, right? And so if you walked into a bathroom, for example, you'd be measuring, is there soap and paper supplies available? And if there weren't, you'd lose a point, right? Is there graffiti in there? You'd lose a point. And what we can say is that in 2024, this program inspected about 40 parks. 20 of those had restrooms, and across all the restrooms measured, they rated 3.9 out of 5 on these maintenance standards. So not terrible, but not great. And that's what we're looking to use in response to the audit. We're going to take that data source and a few other data points and build out a restroom-specific goal where we're taking feedback from the public on how are our restrooms doing, and we look at that on a regular basis with crew chiefs and with our staff. The other thing we're doing at the recommendation of the audit is incorporating supervisory monitoring into our program. So getting really clear and consistent across maintenance districts. How often should supervisors be out validating that the work is being done? So that is what we've got for you. As AP said, we appreciated the opportunity to work with the auditor and get some outside perspective. And we've given you some links for places to go for a little more information if you'd like it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. So appreciate the in-depth knowledge and also the assessment of what Parks is doing, what the improvements can be. And also, I'm going to read back what I heard during this presentation, and then I know I'll recognize Councilmember Rivera for the question, that Seattle Parks is addressing the audit head-on. So understanding like, hey, this is where we are, this is the playing field, and these are the improvements we need to have. That you already have a detailed asset inventory process where you understand what assets are important, how they need to be repaired, maintained, and keeping track. That you also, which is one of the most important pieces, that you understand how important restrooms are. We heard, that it's a public safety issue, but also a health issue, and making sure that, people have access to restrooms and knowing that parks are already plumbed for this type of usage. And then also understanding that, you're trying new things and trying to figure out, hey, what's working, what's not working. We're kind of in a different era in our society, and I also want to point out, not all this is on you. It's also on us in the community as well to make sure that we keep and protect a lot of the parks and the assets clean and safe, and us as a community. That's what I've been trying to spread so much during my time, especially in District 3, that we as a community have a responsibility to keep our places clean and safe and accessible, that, it takes all of us, not just our Parks Department, but that, there's a role for everyone to play. So with that being said, Councilmember Rivera.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for this full presentation, and really appreciate you working with the auditor to, try to implement some of those recommendations, and for all the work that you're doing. I mean, Parks there are a lot of issues, and, you all have a work plan, and I want to acknowledge and recognize that you often have to veer off the work plan because there are unexpected things that come up and some unintended consequences of some of the things that we're doing as a city and some of the policies that we're taking. So that takes, it takes you off your scheduled work plan, and it takes resources that sometimes you have to redirect from some of your other work. So I want to acknowledge that because that is hard. And it really has a big impact on your ability to provide the service citywide. I do want to reiterate having and there's been a big focus on the 20 hotspots. Admittedly, I didn't know there were 20 hotspots, bathrooms. So that is really good to know. And like I said, I look forward to getting the list and seeing how we can partner together to figure out solutions for those on behalf of our residents. I will say the reliability piece is important. So, Superintendent, I'm constantly, we try to partner with Parks and how do we get the word out to constituents on what the schedule is for closure of the bathrooms at parks, et cetera, because I also hear folks don't know when they're gonna be closed. They expect them to be open, and, that reliability piece is important to make people feel like they're being heard, and also to know what they can expect as a service. So however we can help in getting communications out to our constituents on, when bathrooms in the parks that they frequent are going to be open or closed is really important as a reliability piece. And then lastly, I'm going to ask about, when I was at the Office of Arts and Culture, Parks had a partnership or has a partnership with Office of Arts and Culture to do these murals at comfort stations. We were calling restrooms comfort stations at the time. And there were some certain number of comfort stations that were going to get murals. I know there's one in my district at Cowan Park that is really terrific. And I'm wondering how well, and I think those have all completed now. I want to say, were there 20?
I think it's 17 or 18.
17 or 18, yeah. And I'm wondering how those, has that helped? This is more of a septed thing, right? So has it helped to keep those comfort stations graffiti free? Because that was part of the point, right? It's let's do murals and hopefully that will address some of the graffiti issues. And I'm wondering,
Yeah, surprisingly, I think that's, and I candidly, honestly, was really surprised how well by painting a bathroom, a public bathroom in a park can actually really deter graffiti. And when you use, the key is that I've learned is using, local artists that come in. And it's the same thing, again, I was really surprised in Seattle when I first came here. It's beautiful murals in our city. And, I don't know the exact percentage, but I would say 9 out of 10 murals, if it's built by a local person, it's respected and honored. So there was a picture in our presentation at Beersheba Park where we did this first mural. And I remember visiting that when we were doing renovations, and then I learned that it was built with local artists, we sanctioned it, and I said, does anyone tag this? And they said they don't. Maybe some minor things here or there, but we know how to repair it. So that partnership that you're talking about with arts and culture, that's something we should grow. Why not have, we have 129 restrooms. And you saw, some of the challenges is, people will say, do they have to look like, they use the term like a jail type bathroom, because of the industrial nature and the public use, you can't make it like a home bathroom, but you can certainly do the outside of it. So my dream would be to continue that, let's populate this city with art, and have our restrooms look like that. And then on another side, I'm looking at maybe green roofing of park restrooms, because that's environmentally sustainable and also beautiful. To your main point, I do think that's a way that can prevent graffiti, because it's almost like, oh, this is kind of already looks like an art structure, I better not mess it up. It might not come up completely, but to your point, I think it's a great deterrent.
Well, we were hoping it would do that, and now that it's been 2 years out, I just wondered whether it held up. And I want to give a shout out to the former director at Arts, Royal Ally Barnes, who this was a brainchild of hers, and then working with your staff, Andy Schiffer, to make it happen. And I will say, though, colleagues, this was a Hope Corps. Arts and Culture had a program during COVID that it was getting artists to work, but it was funds that were one time, originally federal funding, and then there was funding this particular year, one-time funding to do those 17 to 18 comfort stations. And so it's not ongoing funding, but these are really important partnerships and something to think about moving forward. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Councilmember Saka.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you again to Superintendent Diaz and your team here for your work and reflecting a growth mindset and acknowledging the opportunity that we all have to make better progress in this area. Really urgent opportunity, I think, for us all. And, I learned as part of this, and including as part of your comments, Superintendent, earlier, your opening comments, that people members of the public always want to expand the number of restrooms, not just in Seattle, but in LA and across the country. It's parks departments, again, across the country. And I'm not sure that's the best approach here in Seattle at this point, at this juncture, unless and until we're in a better position to make better progress on addressing the cleanliness and accessibility, properly maintaining our existing restrooms. And, you know, after reading the 30-something page audit report, read it, thank you guys. We read these things. Well, I read them, and listening to that presentation and hearing your response here on the department side, the opportunity that I learned is that generally we need to say what we're going to do and do what we say. And the opportunity is that we have an opportunity to actually live up to that a little better. And some of that might be expectations management. I don't know, but I am pleased to see in the tail end of your slide there your specific plan and schedule and time frame to remediate some of these. On slide number 18 there, your future actions. So I also agree with Councilmember Strauss that I think later this year or maybe next year sometime, we ought to invite you all back to just check in on the progress, because I know you all are committed to doing that. And I want to thank Councilmember Hollingsworth for her great comments earlier. It's not just on the department. It's our responsibility to make sure you all have the tools and resources you need to be successful, and directional guidance from a legislative perspective that you need to be successful. It is, government plays an important role in some of these broader challenges, but it's not the only role. And so individuals and communities also need to step up. It is a shared responsibility that we all have. So I just want to say that thank you for your work and your commitment to remediating these issues as quickly as possible. I look forward to rolling up my sleeves and partnering together and making sure, again, you all have what you need to be successful. I mentioned before, and I mean it, but I have envy for not being on this committee. This is a wonderful committee, and it's such a wonderful committee because of your department, in large part because of your department. And so appreciate the work you all do. So when you go in and do these major capital improvement project renovations to these restrooms, do you also endeavor to address the drinking fountain and update and improve the weatherizations of the drinking fountain? Drinking fountain access is really important. Parks Superintendent Diaz has known, like I've inquired about this directly with him, but we have an opportunity, I think an equally important opportunity, to make sure that whatever drinking fountains we do have in our city parks are always functioning 24/7, 365. That is equally important, and in my view, is making sure our restrooms are clean, safe, accessible, properly maintained. But are those drinking fountains, are they also updated as part of the renovation process?
The drinking fountains are often included. They aren't always included. We do as much as we possibly can with the funding that's available. We do always include accessibility. So that would be outside of a restroom building, a pathway to a street or play area. So there are accessory items outside of a building that are included. Drinking fountains, when we are able to, we do. If there's a need, yes. And we do weatherize the building itself when we do a renovation project.
Awesome. Oh.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say one thing, and we can explore this more with you or the council. I can certainly, I'm now going to reach out to my counterparts who work in the utilities, but one solution in Los Angeles we did was work with our public utility, who, you know, is a ratepayer-based system. They receive money, they have access. We did an innovative partnership where we partnered with them to install hydration stations, basically. So it's like the modern water fountain. Bottle, and it sometimes works better. It's a little bit more hygienic, and through rebates and things that they needed to spend money on for good for the public, this was a way to use that money for good. And so I would love to explore that more with the council and our utility partners to see who provide water to the city. Hey, is there an innovative use of funding, maybe something that they need to accomplish as a metric or goal? In parks, we have the space. We would love to open that up and provide more hydration stations. You know, again, if there's the funding and ability to do it, we have the land. So let's work on that. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, no, thank you. Tell us what you need to roll all that out, and definitely consider it. And it's a huge priority of mine to drinking fountain access, reliability, but also properly maintaining and addressing the cleanliness of our restrooms. And to your point earlier, Superintendent Diaz, is that it's a huge, very influential factor in determining the public's perception of our park system at large. And they can go and the quality of their experience or lack thereof. You know, members of the public can go to one of our many wonderful parks that we have in our city, and it could be very well kept and properly maintained, grass freshly cut, the trash taken out, hedges trimmed and everything, and then have a unfortunate experience in the restroom and completely gut all their perceptions of great things. And so that's why it's important, I think, from my perspective, that we get this in order and do it as quickly as possible. And so I just appreciate your commitment to doing this work, and I stand with you alongside you, because it's a shared responsibility. So that was all I'll say from there. I noticed that Councilmember Kettle didn't have his hand up here, and some members of the public, we have I have great relationships with all of my colleagues, Councilmember Kettle included. That was just a little friendly banter earlier. He is fairly verbose. I don't walk away from that comment sometimes, but the good news is he's on point. He doesn't miss much. He says a lot of great things. But I hope I didn't, stymie your engagement there. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I see Councilmember Strauss.
Thank you, Chair. Those are fighting words. Wow. I was just going to note, I've got a hard stop in 11 minutes. I was hoping to take those votes.
Thank you for that, Councilmember Strauss. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Parks Department. We know that the work that you do is phenomenal, so thank you all for the presentation today. Thank you. And then now we're going to read item Agenda 3 into the record.
Agenda item 3, Resolution 32164, a resolution relating to Seattle Parks and Recreation, authorizing the Superintendent of Parks and Recreation to act as the authorized representative and agent on behalf of the City of Seattle, and to legally bind the City of Seattle with respect to certain projects. For briefing, discussion, and possible vote.
And really excited to have this come to a vote, and I know that we are going to be losing council member. We have hard stops for folks, so yeah. Councilmember Strauss.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just give my public appreciation to Moisha and the Seattle Parks team regarding this. I met with them earlier this week and had all of my follow-up questions answered. So in the interest of brevity, just wanted to say thank you. Great work. We would be in a financially more dire situation without people like Moisha working for our city. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilmember Strauss. I appreciate Parks following up with you about those questions. And I apologize. I know that a couple council members had some briefings. So whatever the speedy presentation is, that would be phenomenal. I appreciate that, Superintendent Diaz.
Thank you. I think we're here to answer questions. We don't have a formal presentation on this item. So And I'm sorry, I missed your question.
Oh, I apologize. What I was saying was if there was a expedited presentation to it to this, it would be phenomenal. And then I know if my colleagues had any questions, I know I don't want to lose quorum at 4 because I know this is important that we vote on this because there's also a state timeline deadline.
Okay.
If I'm correct.
Where's the, what are those people called that are from the city?
Oh, okay. So this presentation was shown already. You all are here both to answer questions that we have. That's what I'm told. Okay, awesome. Thank you. My apologies.
Where's your city council?
No, absolutely. Councilmember Rivera.
Chair, would be helpful maybe for anyone watching. We did have this presentation, but perhaps Superintendent Diaz can just do a 1-minute setup of what we're voting on today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilmember Rivera. That'd be great.
And I'm going to, we're talking about our RCO, our State Recreation and Conservation Office. So this is an update to you all on the 2025 grant applications that we have made on behalf of Parks for RCO. And so Moshe Hecht, who's the head of our grants team, he can just give a quick summation of what we.
Yeah, so the Recreation Conservation Office of Washington State administers both state and federal funding for grants for parks. These are for outdoor recreation purposes. We are going to be applying for a number of different projects throughout the city, including Evans Pool, Discovery Park, and a number of other locations. This funding is critical to help us not only build some of these projects, but also to include very important amenities to the projects that the community has asked us to provide.
And if you could remind us just a couple of the projects that are being considered today, that would be great. And then I'll see if any of my colleagues have any questions.
Sure. So there's First Tee is one of the projects out at Bill Wright Golf Complex. They're going to make some improvements to the 9-hole course there to just make it safer and better for for programming for youth in particular. Discovery Park South Beach Trail is a project. That's a project that we need to reroute and rebuild. It's one of the most popular trails in the city. Evans Pool out at Green Lake is probably the most visited park in the city. The pool is at the end of its useful life, and we are going to apply for funding to help rebuild that pool. Dr. Jose Rizal Park is another park that really needs a lot of love and care. I think, per the discussion earlier, we are moving forward with the restroom renovations there, and then we are going to look at securing additional funding to make additional park improvements throughout the park, primarily to the playground and accessibility in the park. Depending on whether or not we move forward with the existing bid for the Northwest Native Canoe Center, we could be applying for additional funding to help support that project so that we can move forward and build that project. Trying to remember if I'm missing any of them. The slideshow is not advancing, so.
No worries. I know we're having an issue, technology. Yes, Councilmember Rivera.
And we're just voting today to authorize Superintendent Diaz to act as the agent for the city for these projects as we apply for funding.
Yes, there we go. The list.
We can show you that. Thank you, Madam Clerk. No, we go back to the list that just had the amount and the programs.
So the list is actually right.
Yeah.
I'm prepared to vote.
Yep.
There.
We're ready.
Okay, sorry. Stan Sayre's Boat Launch is another project. This is one that we are just about done with design, and we're very excited about moving forward with this project.
I think we're.
Yeah, I think that's all of them.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Great overview. I know that we had this. It was a great refresher, so thank you all. And I know a lot of us had not pre-briefings, but briefings before, so just wanted to thank you. I move now that the committee recommends adoption of Resolution 321164. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. There was a second, third, and fourth. It's been moved and seconded to recommend the adoption of the resolution. Are there any further comments? Okay, clerk, will you please call the roll for the recommendation adopt Resolution 321164.
Councilmember Kettle?
Aye.
Councilmember Rivera?
Aye.
Councilmember Strauss?
Yes.
Council President Nelson?
Aye.
Chair Hollingsworth?
Yes.
5 in favor.
Motion carries, and the committee recommendation to adopt the resolution will be sent to March 4th City Council meeting. If there's no further questions, we're going to move on to the last agenda item. Thank you, Superintendent Diaz, and I always mess up your name, Moshe.
Moishe.
Moishe. Okay, I'm so sorry.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you both for being here. Really appreciate it, and all your work. Please read item number 4 into the record.
Item number 4, appointment 3090, appointment of Ryan Smith as a member, Central Waterfront Oversight Committee for a term to December 31, 2025.
So committee, as I mentioned last committee, this was our 13th appointee. The packet was accidentally not included due to a clerical error. We heard about this. We heard about the dedication of all of our appointees, including Ryan Smith. And with that being said, I would like to move that the committee recommend confirmation of appointment 3090. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to recommend the confirmation of the appointment to Central Waterfront Oversight Committee. Are there any other comments? Okay, clerk, please call the roll to the committee recommendation to confirm appointment 3090.
Councilmember Kettle?
Aye.
Councilmember Rivera?
Aye.
Councilmember Strauss?
Yes.
Council President Nelson?
Aye.
Chair Hollingsworth?
Yes.
5 in favor.
Awesome, thank you. This will be sent to the Tuesday, March 4th meeting for the City Council meeting. Thank you, everyone. With that, I know we have 2 minutes before some of us have a hard stop. I wanted to take this time really quick. Mom, happy birthday. You turned 70 on Friday. Thank you for the gift of life. You were born in the Callio Projects in New Orleans, Louisiana, 1955. You had scoliosis as a young child, and you spent most of your childhood in a body cast up to your neck to fix your curve. You overcame many challenges. You graduated Booker T. Washington High School, went to Xavier, New Orleans, Louisiana, historically black college and university. You majored in English. You moved to Seattle in 1975 when my uncle Bruce was drafted to the Seattle Sonics. You were a teacher's aide, nonprofit organizer until you got a job with King County Housing Authority, connecting people to housing long term. During your time working, you did night school to get your master's degree. You were also a proud member of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. The house always had pink and green in it. You drive to the ends of the earth for a basketball game, sacrifice weekends for me, help me with my oratory skills, cook incredible meals, yelled, rebound at our games, prayed with me, supported me, loved me unconditionally. Mom, there are no words to describe how I feel about you, but I will use the words from our favorite Stevie Wonder song, which is from the Songs of the Key of Life, as I will always love you. Thank you. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Birthday.
Alles Gute, Zonkerbutz.
And that will conclude.
Zu den Razdinia.
Feliz cumpleaños.
Happy birthday, Mom. That will conclude February 26th meeting of the Parks, Public Utilities, and Technology Committee. Our next committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, March 26th at 2 p.m. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's a great way.